Hello guys, Kimster here, bringing you another Elden Ring build, and this one is a pure phase fire build. The main idea here is that we blow everything that moves up and turn it into a big pile of ash with no complications involved. Pyromancer is always a fun build to play, and it was one of my favorites in Dark Souls 3, and I'm happy to make this one for Elden Ring. Fire is particularly interesting in Elden Ring because you have so many buffs that stacks multiplicatively, and if you follow my guide, I'll show you how to stack that up to a plus 231 increased fire spell damage. The end result is hell on earth. You will turn every fight into apocalyptic firestorm, of which no enemy can survive. Every spell we are using in this build can be charged up to deal a lot more damage. And not only that, some of the fire spells have explosions that can hit multiple enemies around the impact area, making this one, if not the best build for AoE, and let you easily delete huge packs of enemies rather quick. Before we start, if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to like, leave a comment, and subscribe. It helps me a lot and motivates me to create more and better content for you guys. Without any further delay, let's jump right in. First, let's take a look at the main piece of equipment we are using in this build. Since I'm only using spells from the Fire Giant Incantations school, I'm going to use Giant Seal to cast them, simply because it boosts the spell power of those incantations by 20%. The best part is that if you equip two of them, they stack, boosting your spell damage even further. However, despite what the description says, the Giant Seal boosts some spells from the Fire Monk Incantation schools, to name a few: of Flame, Surge of Flame, and Whirl of Flame. Sadly, it does not increase the damage of Catch a Flame Incantation, which is literally the best fire spell in my opinion, at least for PvP. It offers great damage and stagger, and you can spam it in the face of those who decided to trade with you. To get the Giant's Seal, head to the Giant's Grave Post and make your way southwest. Jump the gap and make your way towards the Giant Conquering Hero's Grave. Enter and take your elevator down, and follow the route I'm showing you here to quickly reach the seal location without having to fight any enemy. Now, in order to get the second seal, either have a friend trading you one, or start a new game plus and get the second one yourself. However, if you are looking for a third alternative, you can use the Jellyfish Shield to buff yourself with Contagious Fury that lasts for 30 seconds and increase the damage by 20%. However, make sure the shield is equipped at all times or you will lose that buff. The first spell we are looking at is the Giant's Flame Take Z. It's a massive ball of fire that you can charge up to deal even more damage. The travel distance is great, and the explosion can kill enemies through walls. A lot of guides did not really emphasize how incredibly powerful the knockback and the knockdown of this spell. You will be sending enemies flying, disrupting pretty much all human-sized enemies or bosses. It's the bread and butter of this build and the most used spell in your arsenal as a Pyromancer. One thing to mention is that free aiming this spell and most of this build's incantations yield sometimes better results than locking on your target. I recommend that you always try to free aim most of the incantations I listed here for a much better overall results. The second spell we are looking at here is the Flame Fall Upon Them incantation. It releases several bolts of fire you can hurl towards your enemies. You can also charge this incantation, giving it more damage and making every ball of fire cause an explosion upon landing. It is your go-to spell to deal with scattered enemies. However, sometimes I feel it's a bit unreliable if you are trying to pin something down, but nonetheless, great incantation to have. In patch 1.04, they decreased the damage of a single cast and improved the performance so it hits the enemy multiple times, and decrease the FP cost. So in other words, this spell became like a shotgun to any enemy very close to you when you cast it. Giant's Flame Take Z and Flame Fall Upon Them incantations can be learned after obtaining the Giant's prayerbook from inside a chest at the very top of Guardian's Garrison in Mountain's Top of the Giants. Follow the route I'm showing you here to easily obtain it. After that, you can turn it into Miriel, Master of Vows, located at the Church of Vows. Then you can learn these incantations directly from him. We also have the Flame of the Fell God incantation that not only it received decreased FP cost in patch 1.04, but also increased damage, making this whole build even more powerful than ever. When you cast this incantation, it releases a ball of fire that has a rather short travel distance, but it explodes, dealing massive amount of damage and covering the area around it with magma ball that persists for a while, dealing constant damage to any enemy caught inside. It's worth mentioning that you cannot charge this spell for more damage. I use this to set up a big damage when I manage to sneak up on an enemy by casting it once, followed by giantsflame takes E, and the result is very crispy whatever got caught inside. You can also keep casting one after another, constantly dealing huge amount of damage and decorating the area around you in lava. You can obtain the Flame of the Fell God incantation very early in the game by entering the Evergall located in the very south of Florenia of the Bigs and defeating Adan, Thief of Fire mini-boss. The last damage dealing incantation we have here is Burn of Flame. You can get this by turning in Remembrance of the Fire Giant to Enya at the Round Table Hall. When cast, it creates fire pillars around your character. Charging up the spell creates even more fire pillars. I found this most useful against large enemies because they can get hit by multiple fire pillars. Check how I'm turning this earthly avatar into a lump of coal by a single charged cast. It is the most damage dealing incantation when surrounded by multiple enemies or against large enemies, if you can find the window to cast it. Now let's take a look at how to build our character. My class here is the Vagabond, but if you are starting a new game, I would suggest you pick the Confessor starter class. All my footage were taken at level 125. That simply shows you how powerful this can get rather fast, and you don't need to go 150 or beyond to achieve great results. Our stats are 40 in Vigor, which is more than you will ever need for any PvE content. Unless you are going into New Game Plus, I would suggest investing until you reach 60. Mine is at 25 and Face at 80. My endurance was quite low because I wasn't wearing any heavy demanding armor. Of course, you will have to adjust this according to your gear of choice. I didn't invest in any other set because this is a pure caster build. However, if you are looking for a melee weapon, I would recommend either the Magma Blade or the Magma Whip Candlestick or the Giant's Red Blade. They are all require very minimal investments in dexterity and strength. My talismans are the Godfrey icon, which increases the damage of charged spells by 15%. Fire Scorpion Charm for extra 12% fire damage. Flux Canvas Talisman for 8% increased damage on our offensive incantations. The last talisman is really up to you. We are also using two important incantations to further increase our damage. Golden Vow for plus 15% extra damage and 10% less damage taken in any PvE content, and Flame grant me strength for plus 20 physical and fire attack power in PvE. The last thing to further enhance our damage is to add Flame Shrouding Cracked Tear to our Wondrous Physique mix, increasing our fire damage by another plus 20%. All these buffs stacks multiplicatively, leading to over a plus 230% increase to our fire damage. It's an insane amount of damage, and I don't think there is a single build in the game right now that have so many damage buffs stacking up to that amount. And thanks to all the buffs patch 1.04 brought to this build, it's going to stay strong for a long time. I recommend you try this build for your second playthrough, or if you have just started playing Elden Ring. It's a lot of damage and a lot of fun. I'm sorry if I took a lot of your time, but I just wanted to make you have a clear idea on how this build works from A to Z. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section, and if you have any suggestions on how to improve my build or my content in general, please let me know. Thanks for watching and have a great day.